All right, let's get right into it. Imagine someone just hands you $500,000 in cash. Sounds amazing, right? Well, there's a huge catch. You have to defend it from a whole series of increasingly destructive attacks. Today, we're breaking down one of the most intense, high-stakes challenges you'll ever see. And no, that's not an exaggeration, that's the starting line. So right from the jump, the stakes are unbelievably high. The challenge kicks off with nothing less than actual military-grade firepower. Just take a second to let that number sink in. $500,000. This isn't some token prize we're talking about. This is a life-changing amount of money. And it's just sitting there in a crate, completely vulnerable. So, what's the whole premise here? Well, it's a massive challenge of ingenuity and, honestly, pure endurance. Our contestant Blake has one single goal: keep all of that cash safe from total and complete annihilation. The rules sound pretty simple, but don't let that fool you. The prize is the cash itself. The goal is just to protect it. Blake gets a credit card with no limits, so he can buy whatever he thinks he needs. But, and this is the killer part, he's got a super tight deadline, just 24 hours to build his defenses before each new attack wave hits. And yeah, there are 4 of them. So the very first test is basically a trial by fire, or by tank shell. You've got 5 tanks lined up, ready to just obliterate anything and everything in their path. This is all about withstanding raw kinetic force. Blake's strategy is pretty brilliant, actually. It's all about layers designed to absorb and deflect all that energy. He starts with a harb shell, a big shipping container right over the money. Then he surrounds that with water tanks to absorb the shock. After that, even more containers, but these are filled with a mix of stuff like bricks and hay to slow things down. And his final line of defense? A wall of junked cars, angled perfectly to try and make the tank shells ricochet. I mean, what a creative use of a junkyard and a blank check, right? And that quote right there just perfectly captures his confidence. After hours and hours of nonstop work, Blake really believes he's built something that's basically indestructible. But, confidence doesn't stop tank shells. And look at the scale of this attack. It's not just 1 or 2 shots. We're talking 20 high-explosive rounds fired from 5 different tanks. It's just a relentless barrage aimed right at the heart of his creation. So, this is it, the big question. After all that planning, all that spending, and all that building, did it actually work? Was this crazy, multi-layered defense enough to stop a full-blown tank assault? Yes. Unbelievably, it did. The money is completely intact. Blake's angled cars and all those layers, they actually held up. He passed the first test, but you can already see the toll it's taking on him. And this whole thing is far, far from over. Okay, so the tanks are defeated. Now the threat completely changes. Round 2 isn't about projectiles anymore. It's about pure, raw, explosive force. A totally different kind of destructive power. The scale of this next threat is just staggering. 100 crates of TNT. They say it's the biggest bomb ever used on the channel, and it's all going to be detonated right next to the prize. So Blake has to adapt, and fast. He gets rid of anything flammable, moves the water tanks around to try and absorb the shockwave, and tightens up his core defenses. But this is where the pressure of the challenge really starts to show. He's so exhausted from round 1 that he oversleeps, losing crucial building time and forcing him to rush the final touches. A huge mistake. So with his defenses hastily thrown together at the last minute, the question is bigger than ever. Can this structure, which was barely even finished, really withstand one of the biggest explosions ever filmed for the internet? And that is the sound of pure victory. After a massive fireball and a frantic search through all the wreckage, Blake finds the money. It's covered in dirt, but it's safe. He has, once again, defied the odds. 2 rounds down, 2 to go. Now, for the third challenge, the attack is coming from 2 directions at once. It's not just about brute force anymore, it's about heat, it's about complexity, and it's designed to test Blake's exhausted mind in a completely new way. I mean, this is a logistical nightmare. You've got flaming cars, full of gasoline, being dropped from a crane over his head. At the exact same time, there's a catapult launching giant flaming balls at him from the side. How do you even begin to defend against something like that? And this is the moment where everything goes wrong. It's just a classic case of making a mistake because you're exhausted. In his rush to build a shield to deflect the cars, Blake used wooden logs to prop up a shipping container, a tiny choice that's about to have catastrophic consequences. This slide just perfectly sums up the tragic irony of what happened. His plan was to build a fortress to deflect fire, but because of those wooden supports, what he accidentally built was a furnace, a structure that trapped the heat and just amplified the flames. And there it is. The core design flaw becomes tragically clear. The wooden logs caught fire from the flaming cars, and instead of protecting the money, his own structure became the fuel that sealed its fate. The fire just raged for over an hour. So after surviving tanks and TNT, this insidious battle against fire is what finally did him in. Let's take a look at the aftermath and the really unexpected twist that came next. And there you have it, the devastating result. After days of nonstop, tireless work, the money is completely destroyed, burned to a crisp. The challenge is officially over. Blake has lost. But then comes this incredible offer, a choice. Blake can take a consolation prize, $100,000, and just walk away. Or he can give up all that guaranteed money for one last shot at glory in a future challenge. Blake chose to come back for a third and final chance. But it leaves us with a really fascinating question, doesn't it? When you're faced with a devastating loss like that, do you take the safe bet, the guaranteed money, or do you risk it all for one more chance at redemption? What would you do?